Hey everyone, this is Decker from Enigmatic Devices. In this video, I'm going to talk about triangle UFOs. I used some custom software to analyze 98,000 UFO reports since 1994. 7,800 of them involve triangle-shaped UFOs. Check out this video to find out what I learned and some of the weird similarities between black triangle UFO reports and two particularly odd patents. Okay, here we go. First of all, I want to thank Tim Renner for making the data available that was used for this video. You can find his dataset on data.world, and it's a dump of the entire report database from the National UFO Reporting Center. I couldn't have done this video without it, and I've included a link in the description below if you want to check it out. Okay, why the interest in triangle UFOs? Well, here at Enigmatic, we like weird patents, and even better, the ones that fall under the category of unconventional spacecraft propulsion systems. I zeroed in on the sightings that appear to be some type of mechanical craft, not just a set of lights flying in formation. My goal was to look for patterns, to see if there were actual sightings that match what's described in the description of the patents. There are two patents in particular that are very odd. The first one, in 2006, is by the infamous inventor John St. Clair that essentially describes your typical black triangle UFO. This guy has a full catalog of weird patents, and someday I'll probably do a video just on his stuff alone. The second one, from 2017 by Salvatore Pais, describes an inertial mass reduction device. Salvatore Pais is an aerospace engineer who has worked for both the Army and the Navy and has an interesting portfolio of patents himself. Is it possible that either of these devices are more than just conceptual? Did someone or some organization actually build these devices? Well, after sifting through the data, here's what I found out. One of the most surprising things I learned after looking at over 98,000 UFO reports is that over 9%, or 7,800 of them, are described as triangles. I was also curious to where these sightings came from in the US. Just counting by state is probably not accurate because higher population states would always come out on top. More eyes in the sky. But what if I normalize the sightings by population? Well, that's where I uncovered some weirdness. The top state for triangle UFO sightings normalized for population? New Hampshire. What? Even stranger, if I look at the 5 top states, 3 are clustered in the Northeast: New Hampshire, Vermont, and Maine. I certainly wasn't expecting that. How about if I look at triangle UFO sightings over time? Is there a trend? Well, as you can see by this graph here, why is there a 10x increase starting in 2006? So I wouldn't get too excited about this discovery, though, because it seems that sightings of all shapes increased in 2006. That might just be a result of the National UFO Reporting Center website becoming more popular over time and just more people reporting. Okay, so how about which day of the year are you more likely to see triangle UFOs? Well, looking at the 7,800 entries for each year from 1994, 4 out of the 5 top days for sightings are July 4th, Independence Day. Thinking about it, that does make some sense. That's probably a day more than any other time of the year where people are looking at the sky. Also, could it be that people are mistaking fireworks displays for UFOs? Chinese lanterns could be a cause of the confusion. Let's dive into the 2 patents from before, as there's a lot of detail in the descriptions. For this one, there are phrases like equilateral triangle, parabolic antenna, copper plate, sharp vertical edge. This one describes a frustum, essentially a pyramid with the top sliced off. Plus there's talk about microwave emitters, plasma, and a triangle or delta wing configuration. I decided to search the database for sightings that were described as black triangle and found 430 results since 1994. I was curious as to whether there was a pattern for the location of sightings or whether I could see any flaps, multiple sightings on one particular day. I counted the number of sightings for each month by state. I did see 3 days of interest. In July 2010, there were 6 sightings of black triangles. Also in November 2015, there were 6, and in September 2019, there were 7. Zeroing in on July 2010, the 6 sightings were in Florida, Georgia, Kentucky, Nebraska, California, and Oregon. They all occurred on different days in July. Here's a few snippets. on how the sightings were described. July 2nd, Jacksonville, Florida. Very large pitch black triangle. It looked like a triangle-shaped black hole against the night sky and clouds. It at first had one bright white light, then changed into three dim yellowish lights. It was more than 100 feet long. Very odd. Kind of freaked out. July 8th, Marietta, Georgia. Black triangle hovering in one spot with one red light on a corner and white lights on the others, hovering just above the tree line. I didn't hear any noise. July 14th, Valentine, Nebraska. A silent black triangle hovered past my dad's house, less than 100 feet above my head. Had rounded tips with extremely dim lights at each tip. The rounded tips were an interesting detail. I've seen a few of these in the database. Here are a few more. July 18th, Coalinga, California. Low-flying black triangle. Three bright lights scanning the ground, also performing acrobatics, flipping end over end. July 23rd, Louisville, Kentucky. I noticed some bright lights, 3 or 4 white and one larger red at an unusually low altitude. At first I thought maybe it was from a tower of some kind, but it was too big and was definitely some sort of craft. It was a black triangle probably about 30 to 40 feet long. It hovered, turned to where the wings were facing the ground as if turning a tight turn. Then it moved out of sight very quickly. Lake Oswego, Oregon. I saw 3 whitish lights moving toward me to the east at what I thought was about 500 to 1,000 feet in the air. As it drew closer, I was able to make out the craft's shape as triangular in fashion. It drifted slowly overhead and away to the northeast and seemed to sped up the further I got from it until it was gone. There was no sound that I could hear, and my dog did not react to it at all. The 3 white light configuration is a common detail and one that I saw over and over in the reports. The 6 2015 sightings are interesting, as 4 occurred in 2 neighboring states, 2 in Minnesota and Wisconsin, and 2 in Arizona and Nevada. One of the Minnesota sightings described a plasma glow. This is an odd detail, and I'll touch on this later. 3 of the 6 2019 sightings were in Florida. The witnesses for these described a black triangle with no sound or lights. I decided to get more specific. Search the database only for triangle sightings that were a closer match to one of the patents, specifically the ones described as equilateral and black. There were 51 of these, dating from 1994 to 2020. After removing any duplicates, I had a list of 48. If I had searched just on black triangle, there would have been 480. What struck me immediately was how these sightings came from everywhere. Looking at the states, there was a pretty even distribution coast to coast. So how have people described these black equilateral triangle sightings? I did some text mining using natural language processing, or NLP, to see if I could spot some common themes. I did some n-grams analysis, which is looking at groupings of words. As you can see, there are some commonalities in what you would expect. Terms like white light, red light, move slowly, directly overhead, silent black. Being silent is a common detail as well. Taking a closer look at the data, of the ones that included descriptions of sound, 84% said the black triangles were silent. Also, half, or 22 of the 48 sightings, were strangely similar, in what I would describe as your typical black triangle UFO configuration. Large object, silent, 3 lights on the edges of the triangle, and something in the center, either a protrusion, like a dome, or another light. Here's a snippet from a typical description. This one's from Beaverton, Oregon in 2008. 3 white lights creating an equilateral triangle and a 4th red light at the center of all 3. All the lights were steady with no flashes or pulsation, constant brightness. They did not move in relation to one another. These lights were pointed down toward the ground. They were not pointed forward as might be typical of an aircraft flying at night. Here's another description from Keller, Georgia in January 2020 that was a little different. The 2 leading edges of both objects were glowing, and this is what I focused on. I was trying to figure out how many lights were there. The glow was very, very dim. There were many points of light on the edge, and brightness was not consistent, nor was the spacing even. Having expertise working with plasma, it appeared to be more of a plasma glow. The plasma glow description is another strange detail. Searching through the database, there are 6 that include that particular term. Another that's similar. November 2015, Lamberton, Minnesota. It was an equilateral triangle. Silent, black with pointed corners. and the two leading edges were glowing. A few described the lights themselves as having a plasma glow. For example, February 2016, Port Hueneme, California. The lights were very dim, as if they were some sort of energy or plasma emitting from holes on the bottom leading edges of the object. November 2004, Newport, Rhode Island. Huge silent triangle with orange plasma round lights on each corner. September 2001, Athens, Georgia. The lights glowed red like the moon on a lunar eclipse or like the plasma engines in Star Trek. I also saw a few descriptions that matched the frustum description. For example, one from Follansbee, West Virginia on July 20th, 2007 that described the overall shape as a triangle that looked like the corners were cut off and the back was curved inward. So what to make of all this? Well, after combing through all the data, there are similarities that are truly weird. People have been reporting black triangles to the NUFORC since 1994, and in many cases, the descriptions are strikingly similar. It's possible that some could have been cases of mistaken identities, but the sheer number of consistent sightings leads me to believe there is something else going on. Whether these devices are genuine alien craft or simply examples of advanced human technology is up for debate. And although witness reports are important, without additional hard data or physical evidence, we'll never know for sure. That's it for this video. This is Decker. And if you like this content, make sure to subscribe to my channel and check out my other videos.